SAE 3402, Assurance Reports on Controls at a Service Organization. Then we came to SA 600. SA 600, then SA 610, and then SA 620. Right? SA 600 is regarding using the work of another auditor. This another auditor means the branch auditor, right? And what were the points for the branch auditor? 1 C cube. And then we had ADV, and C cube ADV. What was C cube ADV? One, consider the competence of the branch auditor if he is not a chartered accountant. Second, coordinate with the other auditor while planning the work. Consider the significant findings of the other auditor. Advise the other auditor as to the significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements. Discuss with the other auditor if need be, and visit the other auditor if required. You understand? So we said na ekdam chote bhai ke jaise. Why? Because continues to be responsible. And if the branch auditor has modified his opinion, not compulsory that company auditor also has to modify. But what he needs to do, he needs to document in his audit file the reason how he has treated the qualification, the manner of dealing with the qualifications or the adverse remarks in the branch auditor's report. Yes, the principal auditor has to document. And then we said the principal auditor should clearly mention in his report the extent to which the financial statements have been audited by the other auditor. So we also saw an example of the other matter paragraph, I think page number 1.142. Other matter, okay, we did not audit the financial statements, audit the 8 branches which have been audited by the other auditor. Right, so that was SA 600, using the work of another auditor. 610, using the work of the internal auditor. And here we again said general evaluation and the specific evaluation of the internal audit function, and then whether to take any direct assistance from the internal auditors, and in that case to direct supervise and review the work of the internal auditors. You remember direct assistance from the internal auditors. In that case, you need to direct, supervise and review their work. Under general evaluation, we had 3 points, OCA. What were those 3 points? 1, the objectivity, the status, the value, the organizational status of the internal audit function. Second, the technical competence of the internal auditors. Are they the members of relevant professional bodies? Do they have the knowledge of the AFRF? What are the training, hiring policies of the firm? Do they have the technical training and proficiency as internal auditors? And the last one, the systematic and disciplined approach, including the quality control. Right? And specific evaluation, what did we say? Whether the work of internal auditors has been properly planned, performed, supervised, reviewed and documented. Whether sufficient, appropriate evidence has been obtained by the internal auditors, and the conclusions reached have been supported by the work performed. Conclusions reached have been supported by the work performed. Right, so that was regarding the specific evaluation. Say specifically, I want to see what work the internal auditors have done with respect to expenditure. So that's the specific evaluation. And then we also talked about the direct assistance. On what basis do you decide whether to take direct assistance from the internal auditors? 1, the judgment involved, the risks of material misstatement, then the objectivity, then the competence of the internal auditors, and also the organizational status of the internal auditors. Right, so this is up to what we had completed in the last class. Right, so now coming to the next standard, which is SA 620, which is regarding using the work of an expert. Right, yes, using the work of an expert. Right, so who is an expert? Right, who is an expert for a chartered accountant? Again, the standard is an ATF. Like 240, 570, 505, these standards, 550, we have marked them as ATF, no? So 620 also falls in the line, okay, the entire standard itself is an ATF. Right, yes, ATF, that is all-time favorite. Right, so expert, who is an expert? A person, an individual, an organization having specialized knowledge. Having specialized knowledge in a field other than having specialized knowledge in a field other than accounting or auditing. Why? Because accounting, auditing, we are only the experts. You understand now, as a chartered accountant, if you go to somebody for asking accounting, auditing expertise, so they'll hit you. They'll say, you yourself are chartered accountant. Why are you asking us what accounting entry is to be passed or how the audit of the same is to be done? Right, so an individual or an organization having specialized knowledge in a field other than accounting or auditing. Yes, other than accounting or auditing. This person is an expert. Right, so now this expert has been further divided under two. This expert, he could be the management's expert or he could be the auditor's expert. This expert, he could be the management's expert or he could be the auditor's expert. Right, appointed by, yes, as the name suggests, the management's expert would be appointed by the management and the auditor's expert will be appointed by the auditor. Right, why would management appoint an expert? Why would the management appoint a lawyer? Why would they appoint an actuary? Why would they appoint an engineer? They are not able to do, okay? Laws and regulations, so they appoint a lawyer. Why? To assist in preparation of financial statements, because obviously we are talking in the context of an expert for the financial statements, no? Preparation of financial statements. And why will auditor appoint an expert? Auditor can only think of one thing, sufficient appropriate audit evidence by hook or by crook. So to assist in obtaining the sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So why would management appoint an expert? To assist in preparation of financial statements. And why would auditor appoint an expert? To assist in obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Right, management's expert, which standard do we talk about this expert? SA 500, yes, 500, management's expert. And auditor's expert, we are going to talk about him in SA 620. Right, this auditor's expert has been further divided under two. This auditor's expert has been further divided under two. The auditor's internal expert and the auditor's external expert. Auditor's internal expert and auditor's external expert. Yes, auditor's internal expert, he could be within the team. He could be within the team or he could be within the firm. Like in your team only you have an ENTC engineer or you have an IT engineer. So that's an auditor's internal expert within the team. And say in your firm there are different departments. And a direct tax department, indirect tax department, internal audit department, stat audit department, consultancy department, advisory department. Okay, so one department taking the reference of another department or one office taking the reference of another office, like say Mumbai office taking reference from Hyderabad office or so. So that will be auditor's internal expert within the firm. So it could be within the team or it could be within the firm. An external expert, this is third party consultancy. So what is the only point of difference for us when it is auditor's internal expert and auditor's external expert? The auditor's internal expert will be subject to the firm's quality control policies and procedures as laid down in SQC 1. See, you can't tell external people to comply with your firm ka policy procedure. Nobody is going to follow. See, if you tell a third person, you've appointed a third person outside the firm, a lawyer as an expert. Can you tell that lawyer to comply with your firm ka policies and procedures? Certainly no. But if he is an employee of your firm, then can you ensure that he complies with the quality control policies and procedures of the firm? Yes. So always whenever I write firm's QCPP, what is QCPP? Quality control policies and procedures, you have to understand that this point is only for the auditor's internal expert. Whenever, wherever I write this point, you have to understand that this QCPP ka point hai, this is only for the auditor's internal expert, and that's the only distinguish between internal expert and external expert. So in total, to summarize, how many experts do I have? Management's expert, auditor's internal expert, and auditor's external expert. And for all the three, whosoever's work the auditor is using, what is the rule for the auditor? CTBR, that is continues to be responsible. So whether you're using the work of the management's expert, or you're using the work of an auditor's internal expert, or whether you're using the work of the auditor's external expert, and an auditor, you continue to be responsible. So, I told you in the exams, I told you at the time of 500, I don't know whether you remember now. And at that time I had told you, in the exams, if a question is asked, why Limited has appointed an actuary? You understand now? Agar aisa question aaya कि why Limited has appointed an actuary. Now this actuary, one thing, he is an expert. An individual or organization having specialized knowledge in a field other than accounting or auditing. And why Limited? Matlab this is client. Yani कि this is the management's expert. So in the answer, what will I write down? As per SA 500. Read along with SA 620, and then rest of the contents are all the same. And if you say okay, why and company the auditors are using the or have appointed an expert, then you have to only write straightforward as per SA 620. So whether it is management's expert or whether it is auditor's expert, the points of evaluation are the same, only the SA ka reference changes. Does everybody understand that? And that is why I did not discuss management's expert in 500. I told you I'll discuss with you when I come to 620 itself. Yes, do you get that? Right, so expert, management's expert, auditor's internal expert, and then you have the auditor's external expert. Okay, right. Then after that, now coming to the standard. Yes, first question in what is discussed in the standard, which is situations where the auditor can use the work of an expert. Yani ke areas or situations other than accounting or auditing where the auditor can use the work of an expert. And so for what all matters can you use the work of an expert? Yes, legal matters, very good. For what all matters can auditor use the work of an expert? Yes, wonderful. All sorts of valuations. Land and building, plant and machinery, furniture, works of art, intangibles, goodwill acquired, business combination, all sorts of valuation. Yes, the auditor can use the work of an expert. Okay, like say the office, say in the managing director's cabin of a listed company, they have a MF Hussain painting over there. You understand? Just purchased last year, say for 2 crore rupees or so. Okay, and they say the value is 2 crore. Say example I'm just taking. Okay, now auditor says, yeah, 2 crore for a painting. And then he says, he comes to know कि MF Hussain का painting खरीदा है, voucher देखने मिलता है ना auditor को. So he gets all the information. So he says, no, he tells the client audit coordinator, since my life, once in my life, one of my dream was that I wanted to see a real MF Hussain painting. And now that I've got the opportunity over here, auditor says physical verification. I want to inspect the asset. You understand? So client says, okay, whenever managing director is not there, I can take you to the cabin and show you the painting over there. And so auditor goes over there and he sees the painting. Okay, so now nothing in offense of the painting. Okay, those who have the value for the art know what is the significance. But then, just a few, something abstract in that painting. And then that audit coordinator is also an art lover. So he is also totally fascinated. And he asks auditor, see, what a piece of art. And amazing work, no? He says, tell me, auditor, really, if you had to buy this painting, for how much you would have bought it? Now auditor says, okay, he's first asked, you'll not feel bad, no? Well, no, you tell me really according to you. Well, you'll not take it in offense, no? Well, no, you tell me according to you. Well, do you have a piece of paper? Well, yes, I have. So, well, give me a piece of paper, a pen, and then he removes the pen and he says 1 minute of cost sheet. सीए के लिए हर एक चीज की वैल्यू कैसी होती है? कॉस्ट शीट, मटीरियल है ना, कैनवास एंड कलर्स, हाउ मच वुड हैव बीन रिक्वायर्ड, लेबर है ना, कितने आवर्स लगे होंगे, 20-30 आवर्स, एंड ओवरहेड, प्रीमाइसेस, रेंटल है ना, फिक्स्ड वेरिएबल, ओके, एंड ही सेज नथिंग मोर देन 30,000. You understand, no? So that is why they can't appoint a chartered accountant to do the valuation of works of art. है ना? So all sorts of valuation, है ना, you require the work of an expert. Next one, actuarial calculation. है ना, actuarial calculation, those leave encashment, है ना, retirement benefits, gratuity and all. Again, AS 15 also has made it compulsory, no, that you are required to get it valued from an actuary. Provision for retirement benefits. So these are first two. Then after that, next it says valuation of environmental liabilities. है ना, say the company has some plants, है ना, it has some factories, and water pollution, air pollution, है ना, all of those happening because of the factory. Now, as an auditor, how will I come to know whether the smoke generated is more, or how much of carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide and nitrogen, what is being generated? For me, so everything is dhua only. You know, out of that, what is what? I don't understand that. You understand now, okay, what should be the level of pollution, what is allowed, you know, within the limit, and how it is exceeding, how much of carbon credit is there with the company, how much of degradation of environment has happened because of this factory. We don't know all that. So valuation of environmental liabilities. Like I think 1 or 2 years back, you know, this Art of Living program had taken place near the Yamuna river. And then, you know, these environmental authorities had imposed a fine of 5 crore on them. So there would have been some basis by which they would have assessed the fine to be 5 crore, no? Right, so that is again the valuation of environmental liabilities. Next one, the estimation of oil and gas reserves. है ना, estimation of the oil and gas reserves. Like, you know, say you're doing the audit of this Reliance refinery or ONGC or Bharat Petroleum or any such, you know, oil and gas reserves. And they have these big refineries. You know, they have these big rigs where extractions are going on. And they are telling the CA, look down. Bole what? Bole see over there is 5 million ton of oil over there. 5 million ton of oil. You know, even if I drown in it and come out, I will not come to know whether it is 5 million ton or no. Say 10-15 liters I can tell you, 100 liters I can tell you. 5 million ton, how do I tell you? And so estimation of oil and gas reserves, and you'll require that petrochemical engineer, those marine engineers to do the valuation of the same. Right, then analysis of unusual or complex tax matters and tax compliance issues. Then interpretation of contracts and legal regulatory requirements. So that is legal matters. And so tax matters, legal matters. You understand now, for calculating the tax liability of Jio Limited, the tax laws of 22 countries are to be taken into consideration. And the company is at multiple, many locations, international. So that is why 22 countries ka tax laws is to be considered. You know, transfer pricing ka books, such mota. You understand? Now, Indian Income Tax Act is itself the fastest changing law in the world. And in addition to that income tax law, some other countries got 21 more tax laws you have to study. So auditor says, no, better I take the opinion of an expert. So that is tax matters and legal matters, yani ki interpretation of contract laws and regulations. Right, so these are the situations where the auditor may use the work of an expert. The valuation, calculation, then EE and then MM. Valuation, then actuarial calculation, environmental liabilities, estimation of oil and gas reserves, and then legal matters and then tax matters. So we have Shan. What is Shan? Valuation, actuarial calculation, then EE and then MM. You understand? Other than that, for computers, for IT, we again take the help of an expert. But this is just the examples which are given by the essay. Okay, situations where the auditor may use the work of an expert. Does everybody understand that? Situations where the auditor may use the work of an expert. Areas other than accounting or auditing where the auditor may use the work of an expert. Right, now coming further in the standard. Okay, now first thing, you understand, no, like, this expert, I can correlate it with that KBC thing. You understand, Kaun Banega Karodpati, okay, in that particular, in that serial, not serial, I can call it as that program, okay, show I can call it as. In that, if the contestant does not know the answer, he has 2 lifelines over there, 4 lifelines, but I want to talk about 2 over there. One, he has the expert's advice, and second, he has the phone a friend. You understand? Now, expert's advice. Who has invited that expert that day to KBC? The management of KBC, no? And who has the option of selecting one friend out of the 3 friends? The contestant has the option. And whether that expert or whether that phono friend ka friend gives the wrong option, who loses the money? Yes, the contestant loses the money. So here also, so we can relate that expert's advice with the management's expert and that phono friend with the auditor's expert. And anybody gives the wrong answer, who continues to be responsible? The auditor continues to be responsible. Okay. Now, when would the contestant go for a lifeline? When obviously when he is not very certain, no, regarding, or he has no clue regarding that particular answer question which has been asked over there. You understand? Or where the risk is high. You understand? Say the question is asked at 5,000 or 10,000 rupees. Then he may take a risk also. Like, 70% is sure, 30% he has a doubt. He may take a lifeline or he may decide to take a risk also. But say, the question is for 1 crore. Okay, if you give the right answer, then you will reach to 1 crore. And if you give the wrong answer, you will come back to 3,20,000. And Amitabh Bachchan keeps on saying that, no, the right answer will take you up to 1 crore. And if you give the wrong answer, and then you'll come back to whatever, 1,60,000 or 3,20,000. He keeps on telling you, okay, even though if you have little bit of doubt, you still have 2 lifelines remaining with you. So you can use these lifelines. At any point of time, you can leave the game also. You understand? No. So first thing, the contestant has to decide whether I should take a lifeline. Whether I should use a lifeline. So here also in 620, first the auditor has to decide whether I should use the work of an expert. You understand? No. The first thing, determining the need for an expert. Is there a garage? है ना मराठी में है ना need को क्या बोलते हैं garage. So determining the need for an expert. Is there a need? Is there a garage to appoint an expert? Okay, expert को appoint करना, expert का opinion लेना, is it essential? है ना, determining the need for an auditor's expert. Right, so one that depends upon the nature of the matter. And okay, what is the matter exactly? How much is the risk of material misstatement in that matter? The higher the risk, what will you prefer? Doing it on your own or taking the help of an expert? Yes, taking the help of an expert. What are the alternative sources of evidence? What are the alternative sources of evidence? You say, no, I don't want to use the work of an expert. Then what option do you have? To obtain sufficient appropriate evidence. Are there any other means by which you can get the evidence regarding that work which you have to check for? Then after that, auditor's previous knowledge and experience. Auditor's previous knowledge and experience regarding the field of expertise of the expert. Like, first time, at home when you have to repair, say a particular door, say some door has come out, or, little bit of some carpentry work is there to be done. So first time what you do, you call up the carpenter and you tell him, that please come. And then okay, for small work, it's a great difficulty to get these carpenters. So first though 4, 5, 7, 8 times you call them. Then by mushkil say they will come. And they'll finish the work in 10 minutes and they'll take 500 rupees or something for the same. You understand? And then obviously after 6, 7 months, everything is okay. After that, some other door comes out. So again, you have to call in a carpenter now. But now what you decide? last time I have seen what he does. Now this time what you decide, I'll get the toolkit only at home, क्योंकि लगते ही रहता है. And then what you decide, कि this time I will only do the work on my own. So first time when you had to handle that tax matter, you were completely lost. So that is why you use the work of an expert. But now same tax matter has come at another client. Then now what you say, अभी मुझे आता है वो, मुझे आता है. So understand, auditor's previous knowledge and experience. Because sometimes, though it is a technical matter, it is an expert matter, but auditor has knowledge and experience regarding that matter. And also the firm's quality control policies and procedures. But you know, at this point, wherever I write, it is only for the auditor's internal expert. I've already told you that. So first what? Determining the need. Is there a garage to appoint an expert? Because you obviously you'll have to pay him money out of your pocket na, if it's auditor's expert. Management's expert, the management will bear the fee, but auditor's expert, you will have to pay him, the auditor. So first, determining the need for an expert. Sometimes, you know, what may happen, कि management has appointed an expert and you have to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence regarding the work of management's expert, but you are clueless. You're not able to understand the work done by the management's expert. Then also you appoint an auditor's expert on your behalf. You tell the auditor's expert to verify the work of the management's expert. That may also happen. Then in that case, now what is the role of the auditor? To coordinate between the management's expert and the auditor's expert. To be a point of coordination between the two. So then say now it is finalized. Okay, auditor is saying for this legal matter, I want to take the opinion of an expert. So now you will have to search for an expert. Just dial. You understand? No. Now next thing what? You will have to search for a lawyer who will do this legal matter ka, hai na? Like whatever you want to get it done. Understanding of that legal matter. So second now, evaluation of the expert. यानी कि अभी ढूंढना पड़ेगा ना. We will have to find out, we will have to shortlist an expert. Evaluation of expert. So now, what are the attributes that we look in for if we want to shortlist a person as an expert? We look into the CCO. We look into the competence. यानी कि पहला चीज तो degrees. Then after that the capability. And then also the objectivity of the auditor's expert. The competence, capability and the objectivity of the auditor's expert. Competence, yani ke again I am going to look into the degrees. Are they the members of the relevant professional bodies? Then capability, to put competence into action, capability is required. Like I told you, to do the estimation of oil and gas reserves, that petrochemical engineer is good. So does he have the competence? Yes. But now to do that estimation, you require some technical equipments which are not there with that petrochemical engineer. So though he has the competence, but he does not have the capability. So what is required is competence, capability and the objectivity. This auditor's expert, but he is management's best friend. Then again does not serve our purpose. So again there should be no bias. So I can just give you an example regarding the CCO. How do you shortlist a person as an expert? Say I want to appoint an expert for checking the provision for retirement benefits. Okay, so how do I find out that person? So first there is a person. One, he is not an actuary. Okay, and second fellow, he is an actuary. So who is not an actuary? Out. Now, who is an actuary? In those there are two varieties. One who are specialists in that casualty insurance, because insurance companies also have to get their claims provision done from an actuary. And second is the specialist in the retirement benefits. You understand? So again this casualty insurance is out and retirement benefits, okay. Now in this retirement benefit also there is one fellow who does the valuation as per his own method. And there is another who does it as per the requirement of AS 15. So own method out, AS 15 fine. So one, I looked into their degree. Second, I looked into their area of specialization. And third, I looked into the accounting requirements. Are they complying with the accounting requirements which I want? You understand? No. Say you want to get, say some, what do you say? Say regarding, मतलब है ना दांतों के ऊपर क्लिप लगाते हैं. You understand? No? So you want to get, say, the clips done on your, braces, what they call it as, on your teeth. So one thing sure, you want a doctor. But obviously you won't go to an orthopedic surgeon or you won't go to a heart surgeon for the same. So first thing you want is a doctor. है ना? Degree. यानी कि you want a doctor. In doctor also you want BDS or MDS. You understand? That is area of specialization. And in that also you want an orthodontist. And in that also you want an orthodontist. You understand? No. Right. So you see, you don't go for a angioplasty or angiography to a dentist. वो भी तो doctor ही है ना. So go to him ना. He is also doctor. No, that's very obvious. No. Right. So that is why. How you shortlist a person. So here what are we talking about? Evaluation of expert. You need to look into the CCO. The competence, the capability and the objectivity of the auditor's expert. Next question. Sources to obtain information regarding the CCO of the expert. Sources to obtain information regarding the CCO. You know what is CCO? The competence, capability and objectivity of the auditor's expert. तो मुझे अभी ये expert के बारे में information निकालना है. From where can I get information regarding that expert? From where will I get? Previous experience. Very good. What else? अरे डरने का नहीं, डायरेक्ट जाके बात करने का. डिस्कशंस विद दैट एक्सपर्ट. जस्ट डायल से नंबर निकालने का और बोलने का आई एम कमिंग टू योर ऑफिस, आई वांट टू टॉक टू यू. Discussions with that expert. Discussions with others who are familiar with the work of that expert. तो you came to know कि तुम्हारे और एक फ्रेंड ने उसके पास से लीगल मैटर करवा के लिया था. तो you ask your friend ना, how did you find his work? Or personal experience. What you said ना कि you've dealt with this expert so many times. है ना? Personal experience with the previous work performed by that expert. Knowledge of that expert's qualification. यानी कि उनका CV मंगवा लेने का. You can call in for their CV. Are they the members of relevant professional bodies? Do they have the license to practice? है ना? Do they have the license to practice? So are they the members of relevant professional bodies? Do they have the license to practice? Then any published books or papers of that expert. Because the moment I say V.K. Singhania, it has to be tax. The moment I say MP Vijay Kumar, it has to be accounting standards and accounts and FR. Right? So that books and papers written by that expert. And again, the firm's quality control policies and procedures. But again, this is only for the auditor's internal expert. I will come to know about the objectivity by quality control policies and procedures. So, before you want to join a class of audit, so one, what you can do, you can directly come and talk to the faculty. Okay, should I do the batch right now? My attempt is so and so. Second, which you mostly use, what you do, you ask your other friends who have already done the class with the same faculty. Right. And third, what? IPCC, you've done your audit class with that faculty. Right. So finally, whether you should do it with that faculty or whether you should not do it with that faculty. So discussions with that expert, discussions with others who are familiar with the work of that expert, then personal experience with the previous work performed by that expert, the knowledge of that expert's qualification, any books or papers published by that expert, and the firm's quality control policies and procedures. Right, so what is that? Evaluation of expert and then the sources to obtain information regarding the CCO of the expert. Okay, so now you have finalized that you are going to appoint Mr. E as the expert. So now there is going to be an agreement between the auditor and the auditor's expert. तो अभी लिख के लेते हैं ना, है ना? Let's make an agreement. Shortlist कर लिया ना, ढूंढा ना. You understand no? Like I don't know which movie of Shah Rukh Khan, but then he used to sing that song, no, Gumshuda. So he was, whatever. Right, so he was searching, no? So likewise, you were also searching for an expert and then finally you have found out that Mr. E, yes, he is the expert I'm going to appoint. So now there will be an agreement between the auditor and the auditor's expert. And any agreement on earth, my teacher has taught me what? Nature, objective and scope. You understand na? Engagement letter na yaar, agreement, you can call it engagement letter, appointment letter. Any engagement letter, any terms and conditions to be agreed, first thing क्या clear करने का, objective and scope. Second thing, auditor को तो एकदम पक्का ना, responsibilities of the auditor, responsibilities of the expert. है ना, एंगेजमेंट लेटर में हम लोग क्या लिखते हैं, मैनेजमेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, ऑडिटर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. यहाँ पे क्या लिखेंगे, ऑडिटर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, ऑडिटर्स एक्सपर्ट्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. देन द नेचर, टाइमिंग एंड एक्सटेंट ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन बिटवीन द टू. व्हाट डेटा वी विल प्रोवाइड, बाय व्हाट डेट यू विल गिव अस द रिपोर्ट, है ना. सो द नेचर, टाइमिंग एंड एक्सटेंट ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन बिटवीन द टू. एंड नाउ विथ दिस ऑडिटर्स एक्सपर्ट, am I not going to share the client's information? With this auditor's expert, am I not going to share the client's information? So am I not breaching confidentiality? Yes. So okay, but I am providing the expert for some requirement, for getting the work done. But should I not tell the expert that he should not tell it further to somebody else? Right. So the need for the expert to observe the confidentiality requirements. The need for the auditor's expert to observe the confidentiality requirements. Right? So one agreement between auditor and auditor's expert. What are the contents of that agreement? Nature, scope and objective. Then your responsibility, my responsibility. Then after that they talk nature, timing and extent of communication and the need for the auditor's expert to observe confidentiality requirements. Right. Why is an engagement letter required? Why is an agreement required between the auditor and the expert? But I'm telling you, अरे यार मेरा इतना काम करके दे दो, I'll give you 50,000 rupees for the same. Why should there be an agreement between the two? Okay, good. What else? Why agreement is required? बोल दिया ना यार, I told you कि tomorrow you do so much of work for me and come. Okay, documentation, responsibility, something more?
The ground rules are defined then.
Ground rules are defined. I have never dealt with you previously. You understand? No. You means with the expert. I have never dealt with the expert previously. You understand? So I don't know na, what he understands, what is his level of understanding, how he does the work. So that is why I'm like, better I give it in writing. And you always prefer, na, if it is in writing, then tomorrow if legal action also you can take against that expert if he does not do his work properly. Are you getting the difference? Pehle what I discussed, the contents of the agreement, and now what I am discussing, the factors. Okay, why is there an agreement required? So one, you have never previously used the work of that expert. Previously not used the work of the expert. You have never used the work of that expert before. You understand? Previously not used the work of the expert. Then after that the responsibilities, as you told me. You want to make the responsibilities of the auditor and the expert very clear. Then information which is being dealt with is very sensitive and very, confidential information. And very information which you're giving to the expert is very confidential and price sensitive information that you're giving him. Then after that, next one, the matter is highly complex. And a highly complex matter. So you say orally, I telling you, you may not understand. So let me give it to you in writing. Then the extent to which the auditor is going to use the work of an expert. To what extent? And also the legal regulatory requirements. Because you want to make it clear. Okay, what are the legal regulatory requirements? Factors affecting. The agreement, okay, what all should be communicated. Actually, they share a few points in common. No? I've written responsibilities here, I've written responsibility here. This information is sensitive and confidential, I've written it over here also, confidentiality requirements. Do you understand? That I've written it over here, no? Okay, dealing with confidential, price sensitive information. You understand? So I've never previously used. Why do you, pehla question kya hai, what should be written in the agreement? And second, why is an agreement required? Why? Because you've never previously dealt with him. To make the roles and responsibilities clear, then the information is very sensitive and confidential in nature. The matter is highly complex. The extent to which you're going to use the work of the expert and also the legal regulatory requirements. So now finally you found out the expert. First you decided what? Whether to use the work of an expert. Then you found out the expert. Then you collected information regarding that expert. Then you had an agreement with the expert. And now finally the expert has done his work, and now there are a few working papers of the expert. These working papers of the auditor's expert, whose property? Working papers of the expert, whose property? Auditor's internal expert. They are a part of audit documentation. अरे अपने firm का person है ना, अपने team में है. So this fellow का तो paper उसको बोलना give it to me. हो गया ना काम, give it to me. I'll put it in the separate divider audit file. An auditor's external expert, they are not the property of the auditor. समझता है क्या? Auditor's external expert, they are not the property of the auditor. Right? So you appointed an expert, there was an agreement, now he has done his work. So now what about the working papers of the expert? Auditor's internal expert, they are a part of audit documentation. And auditor's external expert, they are not the property of the auditor. Subject to the permission of the expert. But now I'm going to come. So expert, you appointed an expert, you told him to do some work, and now he is given his report. So now you told the expert to do certain work, and now he has given you the report. So now next thing which I'm going to talk to you is about evaluation of experts' work. Yes, evaluation of experts' work. What did I talk with you before about evaluation of experts? Now what am I talking with you about? Evaluation of experts' work. If you remember the other day I had told you that I want to get the interiors of my home done. Do you remember? Yes. I told you I want to get the interiors done. So one, I looked into for the degrees, and second I looked into their work. I said तुम्हारा काम अच्छा नहीं है. Do you remember? I don't only look into the degrees, no, I also look into the work. So pehle I did evaluation of expert. Now I am doing evaluation of experts' work. एक तो उनका quality, दूसरा उनके काम का quality. ये मैंने internal audit में भी आपको बताया. General evaluation was nothing but the general evaluation was nothing but the evaluation of the internal auditors, and specific evaluation was nothing but the evaluation of the internal auditors' work. So when I talked about CCO, that was the evaluation of the expert, and now I am talking about evaluation of the expert's work. Okay, they've handed over their report to me, and now because continues to be responsible, no, you cannot blindly rely. So first thing, the findings and conclusions of the auditor's expert, are they consistent with the other audit evidence available? You understand? So say example, management had also appointed an expert. An auditor has also appointed an expert. And if your expert's opinion is matching with the management's expert opinion, will you not get a higher degree of assurance? You understand? So findings and conclusions, are they consistent with the other audit evidence available? Very, very important, the relevance, reasonableness of the assumptions and methods which have been used by the expert. I think this assumptions ka example I've given it to you many times. For calculating the retirement benefits and a provision for retirement benefits, you have to make an assumption as to the age of retirement. What is the retirement policy of the company? Employees retire at the age of 60. So what assumption should the actuary should have taken while calculating the provision for retirement benefit? 60. What assumption he has taken? 75. So what will I say? See, technically though I don't understand how you do your work, because obviously if I would have understood, I would have only done it, no? But because I don't understand, that is why I have appointed you. But so much though I can understand that the assumption that you've taken is wrong. You have used the method which is not allowed as per AS 15, so I cannot use that. वो AS 15 talks about na defined benefit plan and defined contribution plan and all those. He says you've not complied with those requirements. The method which you're following is not in accordance with the AFRF. So the assumptions and methods. And the last one, the relevance, accuracy and completeness of the source data being used by the expert. Auditor says, okay, I don't understand what work you do, but at least I can check the data on which you have performed the work. No? And your base data is only all wrong. All salary register wrong details you have taken. So again, I cannot use your work. You understand now? You say, I don't know the work, but I can evaluate whatever work you have done. Okay, findings and conclusions, are they consistent with the other audit evidence? The assumptions and methods, are they relevant and reasonable? And the relevance, accuracy and completeness of the source data being used by the expert. Very, very important. Findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and the source data. Okay, you say hopeless. Work of expert is not adequate. Hopeless work being done by the expert. You say, I cannot use the work done by this expert. He has not done the correct work. What to do? And you say, you should have taken assumption 60. You have taken 75. I cannot use your work. Your work is not adequate. What to do? Huh? If you tell somebody to do some work and if they don't do it properly, you tell them na fir se karke do. Your boss in office tells you to do certain work, you don't do it properly. What does boss say? Again, go and do it again. So further work to be done by the expert, and if he does not do the further work, then we are to there only. Further work to be done by the auditor. And if you are unable to obtain evidence, qualified or disclaimer. Right, so work of expert is not adequate, tell the expert to do the further work, and if he does not do the further work, then you do the further work. And if he does not do the further work, then who will do the further work? The auditor will do the further work. And can the auditor refer to the name? One I asked you in 402 of the service auditor in his report, and now I'm asking you, can he refer to the name of the auditor's expert in his report? Service auditor 402 I talked about that, no? And auditor's expert 620. And what did I tell you that time also? Unmodified opinion, no reference in both the cases. Modified opinion, you may make a reference to the work of the service auditor or the auditor's expert. But in both cases, CTBR continues to be responsible. So same. Only 1 point extra for the auditor's expert. Prior permission of the expert is required to be taken before putting the name of the expert in the report. This point was not there for the service auditor. Yes, this point was not there for the service auditor. So can auditor write the name of the lawyer in his report? Modified opinion, he may put the name of the lawyer. And what does it say? Prior permission. You have to call up the lawyer before, or in writing, you have to send him a mail. Okay, I want to put the name of your name in the report. Can I put your name? If he says yes, only then you can put a name. You cannot, put the name of their lawyer in the report and then tell him, okay, I've put your name up. Okay. No, prior permission. Like in Companies Act, removal of auditor before the expiry of his term. Prior approval of central government is required. So here also, when the auditor wants to put the name of the expert in the report, prior permission of the expert is required. And a prior permission. Pehle, you have to ask. Okay, so now, to summarize what I have discussed with you in the standard, 3 questions are very important from the standard. 1, evaluation of expert. Evaluation of, then sources to obtain the information, and then evaluation of experts' work. These three though you have to learn it by heart. ATF में top 10 ऐसे तो entire standard only I have marked it as an ATF, but उसमें भी और ज़्यादा important are these three. Evaluation of expert, CCO. Sources to obtain information, you know the 6 sources. Discussions with that expert, discussions with others. है ना? Discussions with that expert. Discussions with others who are familiar with the work of that expert. Personal experience regarding the previous work done by that expert. Then knowledge regarding the expert's qualifications. Right? Then any books or papers written, published by that expert. And the last one, the firm's quality control policies and procedures. And evaluation of experts' works, findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and the source data. Findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and the source data. Because generally whenever they ask a question on evaluation of expert's work or evaluation of expert, it's not going with the words, but these are the 3 points which they expect you to write in the answer. So you'll say, Madam, they've asked expert's work, why you're writing evaluation of expert? Madam, they've asked evaluation of expert, why you're writing evaluation of expert's work? That is what I have observed in the suggested. Okay, whenever they have asked evaluation of expert or expert's work, they write these 3 points. Evaluation of expert, sources to obtain information, and the evaluation of the expert's work. Do you understand the difference between evaluation of expert and evaluation of expert's work? And evaluation of expert, CCO, competence, capability and objectivity. And evaluation of experts' works, findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and the source data. If you don't remember these points, even God cannot help you in the exam hall. You understand? No, CCO, competence, capability and objectivity, findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and the source data. Is that okay for everyone? Okay. So here in the beginning, I was preparing a chart. You understand? So one, I talked about 600, then 610, and now 620. 620 is regarding the auditor's expert. And then I talk about the evaluation of the expert. And then I talk about the evaluation of the expert's work. Evaluation of the expert, CCO, that is the competence, capability and objectivity of the auditor's expert. And then findings and conclusions, right? Assumptions and methods, and the relevance, accuracy and completeness of the source data being used by the expert. Right, so you see, life में competence का कितना importance है? Degree. Anywhere, what is the first evaluation that they are doing? Competence. यानी कि degrees. Are they the members of the relevant professional bodies? है ना? तो पूरा दुनिया इधर का उधर, but CA का degree must. You understand? See na, evaluation also. पहला चीज they say degree. You understand now? So, because all three they are talking competence, competence, competence in the evaluation. Right? So you can also copy down this chart. So it's very difficult. Now, how do you remember it? C cube ADV. Then here OCA and here CCO. Sources to obtain information, that is the third one which you have to do for the expert. No? Right? So 3 to 4 times you have to develop this chart on your own. Whenever you practice, whenever you're studying the 600 series, at the end of studying the series, you have to develop this chart on your own. Sometimes in detail, sometimes in sentence, sometimes just in points. So actually I just observed, you can remember it as audio visual CD, no? AV, audio visual CD, and then C cube over there. And here you can make it OCA and OCC. And an internal auditor is OCA and auditor's expert is OCC. So that will be more easy, no? OCA and that is OCC. And this could be audio visual CD. Right, so you can remember, do you have an audio visual CD of the 600 series? So you say, yes, I have an audio visual CD. I have 3 audio visual CDs. So by hook or by crook, you have to remember. And generally students remember all the story very well. You understand now? So audio visual CD you can remember. But please remember that A is for what and V is for what. Okay, and then OCA and then OCC. Objectivity, competence and the approach, and then objectivity, competence and the capability. Yes, done everyone? Have you written? Right, so let's come to the question bank of essay 620. Right, so let's come to the question bank of essay 620 using the work of an auditor's expert. Yes, Mr. Mohan, an auditor of KTEN Limited, wants to use the work of an expert. Very good. Auditor wants to use the work of an expert. With reference to the essay, state the factors which suggested the need for a detailed and written agreement between the auditor and the auditor's expert. So I just told you, no, I have not previously used the work of that expert. Then to make the roles and responsibilities clear, not previously used work performed by that expert. Then roles and responsibilities of the experts and the auditor and expert are different from those that are normally expected. Then sensitive or confidential entity information that you are dealing with. The matter to which the expert's work relates is highly complex. Then after that, the greater the extent of the auditor's expert's work and its significance in the context of the audit and multi-jurisdictional legal or regulatory requirements. Right, so I think I didn't give you the short form for it, no? Yes, you can just observe the first words over there. It is price L, no? Right, so price I remember and then L is extra. So price. And okay, what is the price? You'll have to fix the price between the auditor and the auditor's expert type. So it's price, that's the sequence. Isliye I have moved the sequence upar niche and that is how I remember. Previously, I have not used your work. What is my responsibility? Information confidential and sensitive, very complex matter. Entity extent of work is very high, and then the legal regulatory requirements. You understand? So that's latest one. 5 marks, November 2016. है ना 5 marks November 2016 है ना it was there in your exams in question number 1. Right, then briefly describe how can an auditor use the work of an expert. So those 3 points which I just highlighted for you. Where? ये मैंने बनाया ना आपके लिए chart. CCO, sources and experts work. Findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods and the source data. Next one, question number 3. E&P Limited engaged an actuary to ascertain its employee cost, gratuity and leave encashment liability. As an auditor of E&P, you would like to use the report of the actuary as an audit evidence. How would you evaluate the work of the actuary? But I've already told you, even though if they ask you experts work, but still you'll write 3 things. Evaluation of expert, sources to obtain information, and evaluation of experts work. Did I not tell you that? है ना expert sources and experts work. See 4 marks May 2016. So they are behind the expert. May 2016, November 2016 also they asked, but November was a different question. है ना so expert sources and experts work, and this question was previously asked in June 2009, then May 2011. Right, so same question repeated in May 2016. So what does it say? Engaged an actuary. You would like to use the report of actuary. How do you evaluate the work of the actuary? So evaluation of experts, sources to obtain information, and the evaluation of the expert's work. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? And here it is, E&P Limited engaged an actuary. So what are you going to write? As per SA 500 read along with SA 620. Okay. So what does it say? Findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and the source data. If you look at the last part of the answer. And before that they are talking about the CCO and then the variety of sources. So CCO, the sources, and the findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and the source data. Is that okay? Right. Question number 4. The auditor of S Limited accepted the gratuity liability valuation based on the certificate issued by a qualified actuary. However, the auditor noticed that the retirement age adopted is 65 as against the existing retirement age of 60. The company is considering a proposal to increase the retirement age. वो तो आगे की बात है, but right now the work of the expert is not adequate because the assumption used by the expert is not reasonable and relevant. So as per SA 620, the expertise of an expert may be required in the actuarial calculation associated with insurance contracts or employee benefit plans. However, the auditor has the sole responsibility for the audit opinion expressed, and that responsibility is not reduced by the auditor's use of the work of an expert. Hence, the auditor shall evaluate the adequacy of the expert's work for the audit purpose. Yes, including the relevance and reasonableness of that findings and conclusions and their consistency with other audit evidence. If the expert's work involves use of significant assumptions and methods, then the relevance and reasonableness of those assumptions and methods. And if the expert's work involves the use of source data that is significant to that expert's work, the relevance, completeness and accuracy of that source data in the circumstances must be ensured by the auditor. So one, sole responsibility, and then findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and the source data. Those examiners' eyes will be looking out for these 6 words in your answers. Findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and source data. Right. In the instant case, a qualified actuary has issued a certificate for gratuity liability valuation for which retirement age is 65 against the existing of 60. However, the company is considering a proposal to increase the age. In view of SA 500 read along with SA 620, the assumption made by the actuary has no relevance and reasonableness as presently retiring ages of 60 years. Hence, the auditor is required to bring out the facts to the notice of the management and advise the modification accordingly. In case of failure of the compliance of the same, the auditor may qualify the report. That is the final. Right. So that is why, I could have just given a reference over there, refer to adequacy of experts' work, but that would not develop the ability of how to write the answers for case study. No. So that is why we've again given, because this gives you a better understanding of how exactly the answers are to be written. Next one, पढ़ो. Again, RTP में तैयार करके रखा है question. है ना? Any exams, they'll shift it. So I may have to write over there after in the 20th edition of the books, okay, 5 marks in May 2017. Read. Combination of 299 and 620. Right. So what's the question? What's the answer? Responsibility. Right. Question 1 क्या है? You are required to briefly explain the responsibilities of the auditor when they are jointly and severally responsible. So those 6 points of 299. And also guide Mr. Z in such situation. He may report separately, not bound by the views of majority of joint auditors. And explain the responsibilities of the auditor in case report made by Y's actuary is later on found false. So X and Y will be responsible, but Z will not be responsible as he is issued a separate opinion. You understand, no? X and Y will be responsible, but as Z has issued a separate report, he shall not be responsible. Yes, do you get that? Right. Next one, question number 6. Full variety, no? For 620. So many questions asked. While doing the audit of Prakash, CA Pratik, the auditor requires reports from expert for the purpose of evidence. What type of reports he can obtain and to what extent he can rely? What type of report? Matlab situations where the auditor may use the work of an expert. अभी किया था ना शन EEMM. Valuation, actuarial calculation, then estimation of oil and gas reserves, environmental liabilities, legal matters and tax matters. And then to what extent he can rely upon the same, that is evaluation of experts' work. You can also write one line sentence regarding CCO. No harm in writing CCO in one line. The auditor should look into the the competence, capability and objectivity of the auditor's expert. Question number 7. Lions Group gratuity scheme valuation by actuaries shows wide variation compared to the previous year figure. So again, probably the work of the expert is not adequate. And there is wide fluctuation as compared to the previous year figure. Say last year provision was 120 crore, this year provision is 9 crore. So you have doubt regarding the adequacy of the expert's work. Next one, question number 8. Ferry Limited is the leading employee-friendly company operating in India. The company outsourced the most critical function of its HR department, that is the actuarial services, to Preeti, a renowned practicing actuary, for ascertaining its employee cost, gratuity and leave encashment liabilities. As the auditor of Ferry, you would like to use the report submitted by the actuary as an evidence. How would you evaluate the work of the actuary? So those 3 points. Evaluation of expert sources and evaluation of experts' work. I have told you, even though in the question they have written work of actuary, but still we will write all the 3. Evaluation of experts, sources to obtain information, and the evaluation of the experts' work. Are you getting? Right. Next one, question number 9, the last one, also there in RTP number 16. Based upon the legal opinion of a leading advocate, Amrit Limited made a provision of 5 crore towards income tax liability. The assessing authority has worked out the liability at 15 crore. So expert and advocate doesn't know how to do the tax liability working. Kitna wide variation hai no? It is observed that the opinion of the advocate was inconsistent with the legal position with regard to certain revenue items. So 620 on using the work of an expert discusses the auditor's responsibility in relation to and the procedures the auditor should consider in using the work of an expert as audit evidence. During the audit, the auditor may seek to obtain in conjunction with the client or independently audit evidence in the form of reports, opinion, valuation and statements of an expert. Example, legal opinion concerning interpretation of agreement, statute, regulation, notification, circular. Before relying on the advocate's opinion, the auditor should have seen that opinion given by the expert is prima facie dependable. The question states very clearly that the opinion of the advocate was inconsistent with the legal position with regard to certain items. It is perhaps quite possible that the auditor did not seek reasonable assurance as to the appropriateness of the source data, the assumptions and methods used by the expert. In fact, 620 makes it incumbent upon the part of the auditor to resolve the inconsistency by discussion with management and expert. In case the expert's work does not support the related representation in the financial information, the inconsistency in legal opinion would have been detected by the auditor if he would have gone through the same. This seems apparent having regard to the wide difference in the liability between the two. Under the circumstances, the auditor should have rejected the opinion and insisted upon making a proper provision. Right, so again that's an important question because only 2 times asked in the RTP. Right, so that completes the entire 600 series using the work of another auditor, using the work of the internal auditor and using the work of an auditor.